Good morning, everyone. I do hope you are safe and sound. Welcome to today's Ask the Expert Intuit's QuickBooks daily session going live weekday at 8:30 to 9 a.m. If you have any advice or in need of any advice, shall I say, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7, ready to answer your questions. QuickBooks also has a dedicated COVID-19 information site. Just go to the QuickBooks website, scroll down a little bit, and click on the big Learn More button under the header Support for you and your business during COVID-19. My name is Aaron Patrick, a chartered accountant and QuickBooks certified trainer. I own a state-of-the-art accountancy firm called Boffix, which uses the best in cloud technology available to help small businesses get the crucial real-time information they need at their fingertips. If you require accounting advice, payroll or bookkeeping, or anything on anything else, then please do get in touch. Okay, that's enough about me, and let's focus on today's session. The session is all about you and your burning questions. If you have any question, then please use any of the social channels to get in touch. That's Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. On any of these forums, use the hashtag QBATE, that's QBATE, to get your questions over to me. So while we wait for the first of the questions to arrive, let's think about what's happened in the last week or so since I last spoke to you. The most important two revelations, I would say, number one was the bounce back loan. So the bounce back loan was the last topic that I covered, and now it's finally gone live. One of the key things we've learned about the bounce back loan is how accessible it's been for our clients. And I really do say to you that if you have the opportunity or you're looking to get some extra finance for your business, do consider the bounce back loan themselves. I was lucky enough to sit down with one of my clients virtually and be able to go through the actual application form with them step by step. And it really is as simple as they said it was going to be. It's 2 pages with questions asking about your business regarding what information is available on Companies House. So it's your company name, company number, and then it's going to ask you some questions to make sure you can afford to pay back the loan. And it's all in simple English so that you can understand that basically you're making sure that your business is prepared for this extra finance. The only complicated question by the sounds of it is the term turnover. So it's going to ask you how much turnover you've had in a given period. And it seems to be that depending on what type of bank you're banking with, so which bank you go with, could it be NatWest, HSB, etc., then depending on which bank, sometimes they have a different variation of that particular question. So our top tip for that is to make sure that when you're going into making that application, have your QuickBooks up and ready. Make sure you've done the simple things like reconciled your bank and got everything all tidy and everything's all included. And then when it comes to asking that question, we've actually been using our QuickBooks for our clients to be able to give them the data they need for that particular question. It doesn't seem to be asking for statutory requirements. So doesn't seem to be asking for what was last on your set of accounts. It seems to be asking for a live figure in some cases. We had one situation asking for the last 12 calendar month, so financial year. So if that's the case, make sure you've got QuickBooks open, make sure you've got it all up to date. And personally, I would use the profit and loss by month to be able to make sure you've got it all sat there. Also, the other burning question or the burning thing that's set up in the last week was we got some more news about the self-employed income support scheme. So this is the scheme that is very, very similar to that job retention scheme that we've been talking about, but this is aimed at self-employed individuals. This new scheme seems to be ready and waiting to go live. And basically, HMRC have started issuing out emails inviting you as a self-employed individual to go log into your online portal and get yourself set up, ready and waiting to be able to take on and to make sure that you are eligible for the scheme. Now, one of the only bits of information that's a little bit disappointing is the fact that as accountants, we can't help you in this one. This particular scheme is only available for you as small businesses. So I urge you, if you are looking to go or if you want to see if you're eligible, do make sure that you can sign into your online portal. Some of you have never had to do that before because some of you have always relied on accountants to do it for you. So you're going to have to take that step, get yourself signed in. So go to www.gov.uk and get yourself signed into your portal on there. And from your online HMRC portal, you're going to see then the opportunity to be able to get yourself logged in. So one thing I would also say is think about eligibility. So HMRC has given you an eligibility checker. So all you need to provide is your UTR number and your national insurance number. Put that into the eligibility check and it will let you know if you're eligible, and also the date at which you are able to make that claim. We've had a few conflicting dates there. It's 13th of March, 15th of March. It seems to be dependent on you as an individual, depends on when that date comes through. Some bits to remember though, it's all going to be based on your 18-19 self-assessment, and also and you've also got to make sure you've been trading from the 19-20 tax year as well. So the only other bit to also just bear in mind is you have to be able to state that you've been adversely affected by coronavirus, and that could be really straightforward. It could be because you're shielding or you're unable to work because you may be self-isolating. Or maybe it's the fact that you've had to scale down temporarily your trade. So it might not be you've had to shut completely, but you've had to scale down temporarily, and that could be because you don't have any access to seeing your clients or customers during times. Your trading profits must be no more than 50,000, at least equal to your non-trading income as well. So do make sure that you hit all those bits of requirements, or use that eligibility checker that HMRC has provided for you. Get yourself set up, make sure everything's all set up now. That way you can get yourself ready and waiting to go and get yourself in HMRC and get it ready for the 15th or 13th. One final bit before we go on to questions though is also to think about from information that I've provided to people on YouTube is I've done a nice little video for COVID-19 income support. So if your business or you've received any of the government grants from HMRC and they've come through on QuickBooks through the bank account, then I've done a nice little video explaining exactly where to get those posted. I'm a certified trainer, so I've been able to go through and be able to put that all into place for you. So with that then, I probably need time to go and look at the questions that have been put on offer. So one of the questions that come through is Kirsty Dixon from YouTube. Following Boris's announcement yesterday, do we know if the job retention scheme will continue after June? So really good question. And one of the things that we've learned from Boris's announcement yesterday is the devil is always going to be in the detail. And the only problem we've got is the detail has not been released yet. We are expecting that detail to be released over the next couple of days. And within that detail, with the documents they're going to provide from the government, we are going to understand a lot more as what's going on. Now, when it comes to the announcement yesterday and job retention, nothing was explained specifically to what's going on. So we're still in the dark a little bit. We were given the end of June, or June was going to be the initial deadline. So at this point in time, let's just use that as a date that we know. Let's do our planning and let's get ourselves prepared for that particular date. And let's see what HMRC comes, or the government can tell us later down the line. I think one thing we've learned from this more than anything is how quickly everything changes. So things are changing at a rapid pace. We are seeing updates daily from the government. We're seeing updates that happen. And this session here, this 8:30 Ask the Expert session, is the perfect time for you to be able to get inundated with all the information and understand exactly how your business holds from there. So what I would say to you, Kirsty, is to keep an eye on these 8:30 slots. Make sure that you hear, and whatever the next expert is and whoever is covering the expert when the announcement's made, we'll be able to give you the information there and then. We've got Vincent from Facebook Messenger. When will I have to pay the bounce back loan back? Will there be any hidden costs? And that's a really, really good question. Now, the bounce back loan itself is designed to be based on the fact that the first 12 months is completely interest free because the government's going to pay for that, and also repayment free as well. So with those first 12 months, you have no requirement to make any payments whatsoever. And then after that, it all depends really on what terms and how much you've borrowed and everything else. Now, throughout the application process, especially the ones that I was lucky enough to sit down with my clients and witness, they are very good at explaining to you what those repayment terms are, how much is going to be repaid, and at what amounts and everything else. The particular client I was working with, they got a 5-year deal and they were able to pay it over at really reasonable rates. The interest itself seems to be realistic. I'm not an independent financial advisor, so I can't give out financial advice, but just using common sense, the the loan that was offered to my client seemed like a really reasonable loan, and it seems like from the client's point of view that it was an easily repayable for them to consider from there. And it's all going to be based on your personal circumstances, your personal business, and also going to be you're going to have to consider from your point of view, from a cash flow point of view, how accessible those repayments and making those repayments are going to be going forward. So this is really a time when you need to be thinking about cash flow, thinking about how much money you've got in reserve, thinking about how you're going to start repaying or getting your business back on track. I've done a YouTube video all about that on my YouTube channel, so do have a look at that, about basically getting QuickBooks up and running for you so that you can start planning for the future. So that's brilliant. Tony from Facebook Messenger. Hi, Aaron. I'm currently furloughed, but I've heard that it's going to be reduced to 60% pay. How reliable is this information? Thank you. Again, this is one of those situations where we're hearing on the grapevine that these changes are going to be made, but until the government officially announce anything, I wouldn't take any of these information just yet. You can prepare yourself, you can get yourself expected and kind of understand exactly how it's going to be. But if they do reduce it to 60%, then we don't know the date yet. We don't know when that's going to be applicable. It could be a case that they'll reduce it to 60% where majority of the nation can go back to work, and it's just that there's certain people that, or certain employees that aren't able to work at that point in time. And if that's the case, then you'd have to deal with those individual basis. But the facts of the matter is, at the moment, we still have the furlough scheme. We're still involved in that at 80%. So let's kind of concentrate on what we know. Let's concentrate on what is going on at this point in time, concentrate on the facts. And then if government does change the stance at any point in time, then at that point we can go and change it. But I wouldn't worry about it too much from a personal point of view. Your employer is the one who's going to have to decide on what to do with that information, how to process it, who to bring back, who and everything else. So really it's about your employer trying to think about all this. They're going to need time to be able to get your business safe for you to return to work. They're going to need to have time to read all the details that will be published today. So, give some support to your employer and give them the opportunity to go out there and get it all set, safe, ready for you to go to work, and then you can see where the scheme takes you from there. Sanjeet from Facebook Messenger. Does the bounce back loan scheme support all businesses? And yes, pretty much every business that we've come through. There are certain criteria, so you have to make sure you were below a certain certain turnover. But as soon as you go through the application form, it will go through that with you straight away. And also, the amount of the loan is determined on how much turnover you've actually made in a particular year. So it is something that you do need to kind of apply for, but the application is so quick, so simple, that I do urge that if you are looking for finance and you are kind of struggling to make yourself get to the end of this lockdown period and looking at the long-term future, then I do recommend that you do at least look at applying for these loans. They're so quick, they're so simple that it's just going to take a little bit of your time to go through the form, see if you're eligible. It's going to tell you yes or no directly there. You can apply for it, and you get an answer within 24 hours. And in our client's situation, they've also had the money not long after that as well. So do just get yourself applied to that, get it all set up for you, and then see how it takes you from there. Johnny from Twitter, direct message. I'm not eligible for the self-employment income support scheme. I'm not really sure what to do. I would prefer to not take a loan from the bank as I fear it will be in debt for a long time. What would your suggestion be? I also saw an article about the government thinking about slashing that 50,000 ceiling to 30,000. What would we find? When would we find out about that? And the actual changing of the self-employment income support scheme, again, will be announced by the government, and it will be on one of those daily updates if at all it happens. Now, from what we know, WIs and everything else, we're not expecting anything that anytime soon. That's not something that we've been able to see. It's something that is imminent at any point in time. But when it comes to what you should do and thinking about how you can bring that up, unfortunately, if you're not eligible for the self-employment support scheme, then really at that point you've got to look about your business and how maybe you can start pivoting into actually earning other forms of revenue and be able to diversify yourself in a time like this. The other schemes available for you I would assume if you're not eligible for the self-employed support scheme, you're probably not going to be eligible for the other ones. The only one I would consider to just double check on is if you are you're saying you're not self-employed, so maybe you're a limited company, so maybe you employ yourself. Do make sure you've considered the job retention scheme as well. That could be something that could work in your favour. The other support mechanisms out there are very particular in terms of a particular type of business. So, for example, if you have rates and rents and everything else, you're eligible for one scheme. The final bit of advice I'd say for you, though, is look at your professional body. So we have seen clients of ours who have reached out to their or had notice from their professional bodies. So it could be if they're in the entertainment industry, in the Arts Council, for example, they've been able to give financial support to their members. So maybe it's worthwhile talking to them. But again, I think the big thing here is if you are self-employed, then you are going to have to look at other forms of income, unfortunately, to be able to get you through this time. But, as soon as the lockdown come through, you might be able to bring yourself back to your normal form of business. We have a Facebook Messenger coming in from Victoria. Hi, Aaron. I'll be looking at getting a new accountant soon. Is there anything you're doing at Bofix that differentiates yourself from other accountancy firms out there during this time? I think the main thing about us as Bofix is the fact that we've been able to give our clients the ability to have their information at hand. So we're very cloud-based, and we have the ability to be able to give information to our clients as soon as possible. So that's where we've really been able to kind of push ourselves during this time, in the ability for us to be able to give information to our clients so that they've had the information to fill in those balance forms. So they've had information to understand that what schemes are available to them and everything else. And the only way we can give that information to them is using wonderful cloud technology like QuickBooks itself to be able to make sure that our clients have that information in real time. So we have bookkeeping team, we have accountants, we have a payroll team working around the clock to make sure that when our clients log in and understanding of what their current situation is with their business, that they can see how their business is doing. Because a key thing now is not about what's happened in the past, but it's now looking to the future. And the only way we can look to the future is making sure that we've got everything in place now. So all our information is available now, so we can understand exactly the impact that the COVID-19 has had on our business. Once we understand the impact, once we know that position is going to be, it makes it a lot easier to make those decisions going forward in terms of how we're going to build our business back up. And that's where people like Bofix are perfectly situated, because we have that information, because we have real-time information, to be able to help our clients make those decisions and get them back as strong as possible going forward. Hi, Chris Mitchell from Facebook feed. Hi, Aaron. Announcement yesterday stated if employees cannot work from home, they should go to work. How does this affect my furloughed employees if I deem it not safe for them to come into the office? Well, Chris, one thing to note about this, again, devil's in the detail, and we don't have the detail just yet. So government are going to be announcing some information to us. So they're going to be giving us guidance as employers, and they're going to explain to us exactly what it means to have a safe environment working. It's the employer's responsibility to make sure that they make their workplace as safe as possible. Social distancing rules applying and everything else. I've heard, there's stories about how you might have to have a one-way system going through a building, that sort of idea in terms of what's going to be deemed as safe and what's not going to be deemed as safe. One thing for us to note is that from our point of view, we've got to make sure that we're still communicating with our employees. So we've got to make sure that we're explaining to our employees that this is what our long-term future looks like. This is how we're going to get there. But just like the government announced yesterday, I assume there's going to be staged ways in which we're going to get that information or get our employees back to work. So it's not going to be a case of today we just click our fingers and everyone's back to where we were before. We're going to have to rebuild our procedures. We're going to have to get ourselves back up and running. One thing we can use this, though, is an opportunity to make sure that we think about our business and our structure, and how can we work or how can we learn, from what we've already done in terms of working from home and having those ways in which we've all dealt with life in the last, 2 months, 3 months or so. We're going to have to learn from those lessons. We're going to have to understand what those lessons are telling us, and then we can build our business models going forward. So I really do kind of think or emphasize with employees at this point, we're going to have to spend our time thinking about how to build our business, how to bring our employees back. And then as long as we're communicating with our employees about those ideas, about what we think we're going to be achieving, about what time scales we can comfortably give without giving any kind of false hope, then that's the best place to be in. So as long as we're communicating with our clients or employees, should I say at this point, then we're going to be in a really good position. That's a great question. Thanks, Chris. James Harlow from the YouTube feed. What is the best way to apply for these grants if a company has only recently started, so doesn't have a year of accounts, and with the likely end of the job retention scheme soon? Well, at this point, with the company that's only recently started, then there has been opportunities for them to get at least some form of finance. The councils have been given small little reliefs to startup businesses. So it's about looking at your individual council, seeing what they've done. They normally term it as business relief fund. That's certainly what's been available in our council at this point in time. So first and foremost, do have a look at your council, see if there are any schemes available for new businesses and everything else. But the other thing is that bounce back loan. It is available to more people than ever before in terms of businesses. So this could be an opportunity for you to go and have a look at that. Again, the application is so short and so sweet in terms of time that it is worthwhile just applying for it and seeing what happens. At least once you've applied for it, if you were rejected for whatever reason, that gives you ammunition to talk to your bank and kind of explain what's going on and everything else. But this could be something where, from your point of view as a startup business, this could be an opportunity for you to have those conversations. But do just have a conversation with your bank, talk to them, see what sort of options you're going to be. I know it seems scary taking out finance in a time like this, but as long as you've got a business plan ahead of you, you've done your due diligence, you're confident in your business model, you've got ways in which, from a COVID-19 point of view, you can extend how your business is going to be, and you can kind of emphasize on what's going to happen after COVID-19, and you've got a plan in place, then you should be able to put into place cash flow forecasts, things like that, to make sure that your business is viable. And that's going to be the information you need to be able to present when it comes to making sure that you can pay back finance. So, it's just like every other startup really, but just more challenging, unfortunately. But as long as you apply the same principles and you're looking at how your business is going to go through times like this, then this is your opportunity to go and make sure that you apply for what's out there, and then look at the bounce back loan as an option for you. Gurjit from Twitter DM. Hello, I'm a nanny, but I've had my last day at work where I was on payroll. Back in February, it was my choice to leave, and before COVID took off. I don't qualify for any grants as I'm technically not self-employed. I'm neither furloughed as I haven't been employed since February. Is there any loan or grant that I can apply for? It's really tough as I now have zero income. Unfortunately, I really feel sorry for you there, Gurjit. It seems like a really tough time, and especially it seems to be from a timing point of view, it couldn't have happened at a worse point. One thing I would say, though, in your particular case, is that universal credit is your best option. They have opened up universal credit to far more people now, so self-employed are included in that application process. The only thing I would say, though, is universal credit does have a very long backlog at the moment. So I would urge you to get yourself signed up as soon as possible, get those initial conversations going with them, make sure that you're forwarding, you're front, you give them as soon as possible all the information you've just said there, put all that information to them, and then they'll be able to make a decision based on that. We have been seeing quite a lot of success in our clients looking at universal credits and at the moment, so hopefully you'll be able to get that, and hopefully as well you'll be able to make sure that that's done as soon as possible, because for someone like yourself, timing is critical. Emo from Facebook Messenger. From what I understand, we have very different lockdown restrictions to Wales. I'm able to work in both countries. Our company operates in both places, but we wouldn't require any client contact. It's a grey area for me as it's not essential, but we're also told to work if we cannot work from home. Yeah, it's not essential, sorry, but we're also told it working. Yeah, brilliant. So from that point of view, yeah, it is confusing, isn't it? I think that's the the thing that, or the theme that everyone's getting from this point in time. But the thing we've got to remember is the reason it's confusing is because it's so complex. There are so many different factors, there's so many different points in which we're going to do. And Boris even said yesterday how he's going to have to consider individual areas. So London might be treated differently to Manchester, and Manchester might be treated differently to Liverpool, and so on and so forth. And that's the only way we're going to be able to kind of contain the virus and everything else. So when it comes to business planning and you personally planning on your work and how that's going to go going forward, then I think at that point, you as an employee needs to consider that, you know, you're going to have to be to a point as flexible as you possibly can be. You've been really flexible now by, you know, staying at home and everything else. So there are going to be certain differences in the way that we're going to operate when we come out of this, and we're going to slowly but surely get back to normality. But before we get to there, we are going to have to probably do things in a little bit different, a little bit strange than what we've done before. And I think really we've just got to be prepared for that and understand that your employer themselves, they're having to make difficult decisions. They're having to figure out what's best for the business and for you as an employee as well. So we need to try and support one another as much as we possibly can. Jack Wheatley from Facebook Live feed. Hi Aaron, I received my government grant last week, but how does it get recorded in my accounts when I come to prepare them? Fantastic question there, Jack. And what I would say is I've done a whole video about all the grants, how you should process them in QuickBooks. We'll make sure there's a link below so that you can find that for you. And I would urge you to go on that video, have a watch through there, and then I'll explain in a lot more detail exactly where to post everything on QuickBooks. Well, the key thing is to get it posted, get it into QuickBooks. As soon as you've got that information in there, you're going to be able to understand going forward how your business is going to be. If it's a bounce back loan or something like that, you're going to want to make sure that you can afford to repay it, and you're going to want to make sure you've got contingencies in place to make sure that it is repayable and you've got everything all sorted out. You don't want it to be something that's going to be difficult. And also deferred taxes as well. I go through how to record deferment of taxes in QuickBooks. So it's going to give you the best possible bit of information so you can go. Okay, I think we've got time for one more question then. So Kieran from Twitter DM, I'm seeing a lot of things on social media that might not be true. As a small business, is there anywhere I can go for a reliable, so start that again. Is there anywhere I can go that's a reliable source of truth? And that's a really, really good question, Kieran. And that's probably where, from our point of view as accountants, we're most frustrated, if you like, because there is a lot of information going out there and our clients are getting really, really confused. The best place I would go to is just here, 8:30 every single day. Gives you the opportunity to come and talk and listen to an expert, and you can ask your question and make sure you'll clarify exactly what that's going to be. Also remember at QuickBooks, at Intuit, we've got the support pages as well. So the social media channels, we've got support there. We've got other experts ready to answer your questions. So just put a post on there. We're all friendly bunch. We'll all be looking to look after you and make sure you get the right advice going forward. And then also talk to your accountant as well. Your accountants we've been fielding these questions and we've been making sure that we've got as much information as we possibly can. So please, do reach out. This is a time not to be quiet, not to kind of stay indoors and bury your head under the sand. This is your time to get yourself heard, talk to other people. We're here to support you, and then fingers crossed, you'll get everything sorted and we can go from there. Okay then, and with that, it's time for me, unfortunately, to wrap up now. So thank you to everyone for your involvement today. Remember, this whole session is all about you. So without your questions, then this session wouldn't work. So thank you for everyone who's put their time to put questions in, and do think about questions for tomorrow as well. Speaking of tomorrow, coming up on the Ask the Expert tomorrow is Dominic Hallas, Executive Director of Codec, the policy voice of tech startup and scale ups. So with those questions we were just talking about scale up and startups, he's going to be a real interesting insight in how that's going to be useful. And I'm sure you'll be able to get some real good information about how to deal with startup, and if you are a startup, and how that goes from there. That'll be a really useful expert to be on tomorrow. A reminder that if you need any more advice, as I just said, join the official Intuit QuickBooks Small Medium Business Community Group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7 to answer all your questions. And as we just saw yesterday, it's so confusing at this point in time. There's so much misinformation out there. So do use us as your reliable source to be able to get all that information for you. Thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video.